Okay, call the meeting to order. It's 5:03. And Kevin, will you do the roll call first, please?
Everybody's present, but since we have a new board member, I will ask Susan, is there anyone you don't know?
No.
So we don't need to do introductions. Welcome, Susan.
Happy to be here. Happy to be here.
Okay, approval of the agenda. Any additions to the agenda for today?
None. I made a few updates, corrections that I noticed, and I'll point those out when we get to them.
Okay, move for approval of the agenda as it stands then, as written.
So moved. Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Both carried. Approval of the minutes from our last meeting in May. Everyone had a chance to read through them? Any additions or corrections to the minutes?
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. On to the director's report. Yeah.
Okay, you have the written reports. I guess any questions? First, I'll ask. I'll just point out Jim Fowkes, who has worked part-time for a number of years since before I started. His last day will be next week, so we'll be recognizing that. We have the position advertised, and we've had one application thus far. The other item that I'll just add to is on item number 4 on my report. There was no, when the individual who we saw, and I wrote that he was maybe gratifying himself, there was no exposure. It would maybe rubbing through clothes, but we couldn't tell specifically if it was just innocent or not, but we banned him from using the computers because he violated our computer use policy.
Do you have any?
It might be the same question. Go ahead. My question is, what is our policy for when people get banned from coming back to the library, rather than just being banned from using one?
Well, right now, we haven't had anyone, no one's banned from using the library that I can think of. Well, there was one individual, there was one middle school boy who, before I started, had no trespassing citation, and he hasn't been back since. Typically, if somebody would be banned permanently, it would be permanent. It would be based on something, egregious. But we wouldn't want to, unless, again, it was egregious, ban someone permanently, because we're here to serve the entire community.
Do we have a written policy available on that type of procedure or action?
Yeah, we have the rules of conduct policy, that the board passed. We have our computer use policy that the board passed. All of those, both of those policies, have been passed in the last couple of years.
Did you address pornography?
That would be, on the computer use policy, that would be
Inappropriate, or how is it?
yeah, obscene, whatever the term is, obscene materials.
Yeah. You had alluded to that. I didn't really know what the terminology was. I remember discussing that.
Are there any filters of any kind on the computers?
Yes. Last year, when we got one of the grants, we got CARES Act. No, not CARES Act. The other act, the more recent one. Well, I'm sorry, ARPA. Yeah, ARPA grant through the state library. Then, because it came through the state library, they had requirements that any computers that were purchased or any computer equipment that was purchased through with those grant funds, then we had to comply with the SIPA, Children's Internet Protection Act. And so we have on our firewall filters there.
So how did he, do I need to turn this on every time I talk?
Yes.
Okay. So how did he break through that?
Well, those filters, filter sites, but, if you are, you can go Google something and look at images that come up then on Google. So, they're not perfect, but, they're certainly better than not having them to protect the children. So, and again, because it was this is the second time we caught him violating it. He's been banned permanently, just with the other possible suspect behavior.
Do we think that we should have a policy about when people are banned permanently from a library? If we don't have one, or the city doesn't provide one for us at the moment?
Well, the city would, it would be the library's policy. Let me see here. I'll just go to our policies. The rules of conduct policy. Enforcement is conduct in a fair and reasonable manner. We stipulate that failure to comply, exclusion for a period of time, or removal. So, a period of time can be open-ended and it can be permanent, but I guess the policy grants, I would say, me, the director, the flexibility to determine the consequences. Yeah.
So we don't need a separate policy?
I don't think so. Yeah. I would certainly investigate and determine the severity of the violation and base my determination on that. And certainly then if a person disagreed with it, they would then have the ability to bring it to the board for review.
When we approved this policy, it was because it had gone through legal and had been vetted for neutral language and latitude to make the decisions, right?
Mm-hmm.
It does say, if you scroll back down, failing to comply with reasonable staff request. Well, that's order of conduct. I was thinking there's something about the computer.
There was.
Well, but then we still have our separate computer use policy where that stipulates that. So, but I just wanted to make clear that, because I think when Stephanie Elwine heard it and talked to me about it, then, I assured her that I investigated, and then it hit me that evening. Oh, if she heard a certain word, she maybe envisioned, some exposure, and there was no exposure. So I wanted to ensure that everyone understands that. So, and then I don't really have anything to add to Zach North's teen and adult services report. Well, I guess I will say we have begun, and we talked about this at previous meeting, getting gaming equipment, Nintendo Switch. We've started purchasing some of the equipment. We've purchased the large TV for that. We still have to get the Switch and mount in that, but we're beginning that process.
Just to add to Zach's report, I just want to commend him for his work with the authors that he's been bringing in. The programs that I've gone to, while not hugely attended, have been very high quality, and I was very happy with especially the Seakeeper, Diane Wilson. She was great. So.
And we've also tried to bring local authors, Mitchell authors, Eric Ben and Amber Hyos is coming up. And if you don't know, Dr. Joe Graves has recently had a text published with
Rowan
and Littlefield, major publisher. And so we're working on scheduling author talk with him too. So
What's that happening?
we're working on scheduling it because, his schedule is a little more, it'll probably be on a Saturday or maybe a Friday.
What topic?
Or what topic?
What's-
I'm sorry, I thought, when is that happening? I heard you say. The topic, it's on education, and do you remember, Jean, the
I don't
topic?
remember the exact title, but something like renewing the joy of teaching. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't remember the exact title, but it's something to the effect of renewing the joy of teaching based on the philosophy of the Stoics. So he takes several Roman philosophers and uses insights from their writings to apply to us in a post-pandemic age.
He's kind of a classicist. And Jean, do you have anything to add to your report?
This is the stage when I am so bleary-eyed that I just pray that it makes sense. But I just wanted to, first of all, say that if, as the meeting ends, if you'd like to go over to the Corn Palace Plaza, we have a Lakota hoop dancer performing today at 6:30, Star Chief Eagle. She's nationally, if not internationally known. She's absolutely wonderful. She led a workshop this morning with about 30 kids, but there were probably about 60 adults that came over and watched, including a busload of people from Countryside Living, so they could watch the kids. That was really rewarding. So this is week 8 of summer reading. This is our last major program, but we will continue on for a couple more weeks with, story time and maker spaces. And then kids will continue on their own through August with their activities. The other thing, though, I wanted to mention, I don't think I've been at a board meeting since much earlier this year, and I just want to thank all of you for the sympathies you extended when my dad died, and for the plant and flower arrangement. So thank you, and I apologize for being so tardy and officially thanking all of you.
So that's a written report, and just I'll highlight a couple statistics. Traffic in June continued the same trend as every month so far this year, that it's been higher every month than the same month previous 2 years, so that's great to see. I don't know if we'll be able to continue that every month, every year, every month, but it's been great. The 10 o'clock hour, thanks to Jane, story time, and still is our highest traffic hour of the day. Let's see, I guess so far through June of 2023, library board revenue has, been nearly 16,000 compared in 2022. 20,500. So we're seeing, with the increase that the board approved for renewal of library cards, for non-Davidson County people, that certainly has attributed in part to that. Oh, and I'll just say, I will add, this morning I attended the Davidson County Commissioners meeting. They did some budget hearings, and I presented on our request for funding again for next year. I requested an increase of $1,000 from them, but done that in the past too, and they didn't increase their contribution. But I fully expect that they will contribute again for next year. And this year they had some kind words to say. And one of them specifically, said his children enjoy the events out here at the Corn Palace Plaza. So that was good to hear. And then the only other thing I will point out for participation, our program participation in May and June hasn't been as high as a year ago. I think in May, Jean did a little difference in the way she presented to students. Last year, every student got a handout that was sent home, and I don't know if you did that this year, but those numbers weren't as high this year, what you reported to me. And then the June numbers haven't been quite as high. I don't know if that's, what we've done, or, people, last year, even in the year before, people had lots of pent up wanting to get out and participate in life again. And, this year they may have other things they're doing too. I don't know. So I guess any questions about the director's report?
Just wanted to go back to the children's services and the 750 summer reading packets. That's an
Yes.
incredible number.
And these, so during May, I go to as many schools that will invite me. And then every student does go home with a handout. I don't know if we maybe did count that as a program activity
Yeah,
this
I don't
year.
know.
I don't know, but yeah, everybody gets my handouts whether they want to. It's funny, I can't promote myself, but I will promote other things. And so, but what's rewarding to me is that these are kids that have come in the library. So these are things that I'm not forcing upon
Yep.
them, that they're going home with. These are kids who have actually physically come in the library to get. Now, that being said, I'm enough of a realist to know that at the beginning of summer, every family is gung-ho. We're going to read every day this summer. And everybody's full steam ahead for about the first 2 weeks or so. And then reality, sets in, and it's summertime, So not all of those 750 packets will be returned completed, but at least we know that they've been in the library. They are starting some things, and I just want a couple of things just to thank all the businesses in town that, help out with those ice cream reward cards. And also just to emphasize, there are a lot of hidden heroes on our staff. I think of Rachel Sullick, who is, every person who comes to check out, she'll say, are you doing the adult program? Are you doing the teen program? Are you doing the kids program? And so these numbers of programs are often the result of others who are at the front lines who are promoting. So I just want to make sure credit goes to those that are doing a lot of the trenches work.
Well, I think it's wonderful to see, and it's so nice to see the involvement of the local businesses too.
Oh, it's wonderful. Yeah. In fact, I got to do a story time at Coburn's at the end of June. I think I forgot to put that in the minutes. And then we'll probably do the same thing at the county fair sometime this summer too.
And they Coburn's
They
came to us
Yeah.
asking, to partner.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Mooville was way more popular than I.
Okay, on the financial.
We need motion to approve sorry.
I move to approve the director's report.
Or can I ask a question? I was thinking about this. I mean, these are reports. Do they need to be approved?
I don't believe they do.
No,
I mean,
there's no
if
decision.
it's more a presentation and it's not an action. And I guess, that new software, that when I put together, I have to say if it's an action or just a presentation. And so these are really more presentations. So if everyone's okay with that, I'll just makes
Probably
minutes
the-
easier.
In my opinion, there might need to be an action on financials, just to say, because you're saying that you approve, that you agree that that is accurate.
Okay.
And sometimes it's just a formality that we are basically, endorsing
Yeah, I
what
mean,
you
that's
said.
typically, we just have a motion to approve the
Yep.
report, to approve the financial.
Yep.
So maybe we can just continue with both then. I'm sorry, somebody was going to make a motion. Ann? Okay.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Now the financial report and approval of bills.
Okay, so bank statement for June. Our balance was down a little bit because we paid for some of our summer programming. So that's there. I don't know why I noticed this. The report from QuickBooks put this into 2 pages instead of just one. There are supposed to be 4 columns comparing June of 2023 to June of 22, and then the next column is supposed to be the percent change, the amount change, and the percent change. And when I saved it as a PDF, it must have been formatted such that it went on to those columns went on to second page. So I just wanted to point that out for any confusion. But our revenue for the library board account revenue for June was, higher than a year ago, and then our expenses for June were not that much in June. We just we paid for actually a lost ILL book to another library that we charged our patron for. And then we had some summer reading expenses. So, and then also just the year-to-date, January through June, and compared to last year as well, you can see that we are over $3,000 ahead of where we were last year in revenue, and for total expenses, we're 10,500. Well, we're less expenses, but last year we had the furniture, the shelving and panels that we paid for. And then here is the budget from the city, where we're halfway through the year. So for salaries, we're halfway through the year, although group insurance is a little higher than that. But we all today had wonderful news from the mayor that this year we'll be having another 4th year in a row premium holiday for health insurance. And it's being extended to 5 months instead of 4 months like it was last year. So thanks to City Council, thanks to the mayor for approving that. And so we shouldn't, after July, we'll still have the July report, but then after July, group insurance won't go down anymore.
I think we need to thank the people for staying healthy. There are fewer claims, and so yeah, it's a great thing all around.
And so, some of our accounts are about 50% spent. Something like Atrium, our library software, we haven't spent it all, but I just got the bill for that. So when I submit that and that gets paid, that'll be 100% spent. So we're pretty much on track. We still need to spend for our books and audiovisual collection accounts, but we will get, once we get through summer reading, we'll get focusing on that. So those are our financial reports.
Any questions for Kevin? Seeing none, we'll look for approval of the financial report.
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed and carried. Item 7, business items, annual meeting actions. This is where we turn the meeting over to Kevin as our secretary.
Okay, our state law and our bylaws require that at our annual meeting, which is the July meeting, the board selects new officers. And so I will take nominations for president for the upcoming year, and I will say that Denny has agreed that he would be willing to be president again for.
I nominate Denny.
All in favor, I see
I hear a train.
Second.
And is that also then nomination cease?
Nominations.
Get that out and-
I, yeah. I move that nomination cease.
I second that.
Oh, yeah, and I'm sorry, I should have let you know, Susan, that our bylaws stipulate that the city council rep is a full voting member.
This is the only one I
Yeah.
can vote on. This is great.
So you can make motions and you can, yeah. Okay, so hearing no further nominations, all those in favor of approving Denny Knapp as president for the upcoming years, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Denny, you can have it back.
Looking for nominations for vice president.
And I will just say that I also asked Diana if she would be willing, and she said she would be willing to serve as vice president for another year. Thank you, if you're nominated.
I nominate Diana.
I second it.
I move that nominations cease.
Yes, unanimous ballot.
It's not like we have a big pool of people.
Yeah.
Right.
This is everything.
Let's see, did you second that?
Um,
Or who seconded that nomination?
Susan second.
You-
okay, sorry.
Cease.
Okay,
Cease the nominations.
okay, so we can vote. Danny, we have to vote.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed and carried. The other portion of this, we need to set a meeting time. In the past, it's been the third Tuesday of the month, of the odd numbered months for formal meetings and training meetings on the even months at 5 PM. Do we want to stay with that schedule? Do I have any comments from the board?
I would prefer it be 5:15 or 5:30, just because I work till 5, and I hate always having to ask them to leave early. And, I don't know, most of us are retired or whatever.
Kevin, for the meetings that take place here at City Hall, are we ever in time conflict if we start later on Tuesday?
Well, typically not. I just need to make sure that I reserve the room, get on the calendar. But when we set the meeting time, then I make those reservations for the entire year, for the odd number months.
Is anyone opposed to meeting 15 minutes later at 5:15?
I would prefer 5:15 over 5:30. But yeah, I'm fine with 5:15.
Okay.
Does the meeting usually last just an hour?
We try to be. Sometimes when we get a little wordy, but we try to get done in an hour or less.
Thanks.
We have had meetings that are done in 40 minutes.
Oh, yes.
Thanks to our lovely leader over here.
What?
Said thanks to you, we
Oh.
are on task.
So do we need to vote on that then, or just everyone be in
I believe we do a
agreement?
consensus on the meeting.
Yeah.
5:15, third Tuesdays of each odd month.
Okay.
Even months, 5:15, and normally at the public library conference room.
Mhm. The community room, yeah.
Community.
For those months, Susan, we do training of the library board, of library issues, and which then helps us towards our certification for the library, as library board.
Our accreditation.
Yeah, our accreditation.
Because we're cool.
So, was there a breakdown?
And the library board needs so many credits during the years.
Do we have a session for all this?
I will, in June, we ended up postponing our state library. So I will work at having that be the meeting. We were just going to do it, they were going to connect in with through Zoom. So, and there were going to be about 3 state library staff members who were going to cover different topics.
On to 7B then, funding requests for July.
Okay, we have 2 funding requests. The first came from Zach with higher participation in adult and teen programming, even some of the participation milestone prizes. He doesn't have enough prizes. And then he would also, he hadn't originally proposed this, but would like to have some grand prize drawings, for people who, complete most everything, get thrown into a drawing for that. And part of his reason for wanting to do a grand prize drawing, like a 3-month subscription to a book box, is some of the feedback he got from the Bookopoly participants who, got the bigger prizes drawing. They said, these weren't quite maybe up to the level of work that we put in to complete everything. But then I asked, did they say if they would still do it? And they still would do it, but, they would say if you're going to recognize somebody, and so that's what he is requesting then. So $500 additional for prizes for adult reading program and $500 additional for teen reading program prizes.
Can I ask what the milestone prizes are?
Do you know what he's giving away? I don't remember. I'm sorry.
From what I understand, it's there are things from CSLP, which
Yeah.
is where we
It's-
order things. But I think
yeah.
like the 500 one is a stocking cap and.
Yeah, he's ordered prizes from the CS Collaborative Collaborative Summer Library Program, and they have, things with the logo of this year's theme, like maybe a T-shirt or a coffee, or yeah. So those types of things are what he's been giving out.
I move to approve this request for $1,000.
Okay.
Do we have a second? Further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And then the second request is from Jean Patrick. She plans to participate in the national and international Read for the Record event again in October. And we've been doing this the last number of years, and this is to purchase 50 English copies of the book with lots of love and 5 Spanish copies, and cover shipping costs too.
Move to approve that request.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Deb, you seconded that, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Item 7C.
Okay, and
library hours.
no. The updated agenda was also to review the budget request for, to the, we have, in about a week or two, I have to submit our departmental budget request, and, that's one thing also stipulated in state law that the library board does is, kind of approve putting together the budget. And so in the first column here is what we plan on requesting, just regular salaries. That's all done by negotiations with the union, so that's not in there. And then the next column is what was approved for this year's 2023 budget. And so then I put in the last column just to show the difference. And so Every year, the minimum wage in South Dakota goes up, and so our part-time wages kind of are based off of that, but it's a little bit more than minimum wage. And so I requested money to cover the expected cost of living increase to that. And I know you have to go get ready for an event, so thank you. I'm proposing a new, we haven't had anything in professional services, but I just want to track, we have our, the fire alarm system monitoring has just been out of a different budget, and it would just be easier to put it in professional services instead of utilities, because the fire alarm monitoring is not really a utility. It's more of a service, so that's that. Postage, with postage rates going up, I'm requesting a little bit more. Our cataloging fees, I expect to go up a little bit. And actually, this year in 2023, I'm going to overspend that budget by about 50% because our cataloging for OCLC switched to this year in July. We go on a July to June fiscal year, and they have previously billed monthly, and starting this year in July 2023, they went to a bill annually. And so we received our 2023-2024 bill. But I'll make sure that I don't go over in some other account. So we'll have plenty to cover that. Let's see. The ebooks, audiobooks, increase of $4,500. If you notice at the bottom, audiovisual has a decrease of $4,500. And so what I'm requesting is that we reduce our physical audiovisual collection budget and put it towards ebooks. We have more people, downloading books, and so we need to be able to add more titles to that to meet the need there. Travel conference, I just kind of rounded it down to $1,500. I don't know how that got to be 62 in there. Utilities, I expect to go up next year based on what we've already been spending this year. And I know the city has raised water sewer rates, and based on what we were informed of at our budget, our department head meeting yesterday, I think that they told us we should do it and figure that out, but that may be more than what I should have requested. But and the computer software, it's what we're requesting the same amount that we requested last year, but it wasn't approved. If you remember, we purchased the Envisionware software that manages our computer reservations and printing, and that wasn't approved. And the city administrators just said we should just take that out of the library trustee account, but I'm requesting it again next year to hopefully have that covered in the city budget. And then the other big item is under furniture equipment. Our microfilm reader printer is pretty much end of life. It's end of life for service. Its service end of life probably happened a number of years ago, but we've been keeping it going. But it now about Zach can, he's had more people come in wanting to get to search through our microfilm of the Mitchell Daily Republic. We have that database that we get, but not all of the years, and not, the database only goes up to about 77. So anything after 77, people still have to search the microfilm, and it'll work for a little bit, and then it will stop working. And so I think it's time that we try to update that. So any questions about budget requests?
So the new equipment for reading microfiche what's it like? Is it the same technology? Is it
Oh,
better
no.
technology? Is it-
Our old one was, this one's a digital scanner.
Okay.
So it scans the microfilm, turns it into a digital file, and, you can save it as a
Okay.
PDF or
Okay.
whatever, or print it.
But it still
whereas-
reads your old
Yes,
film?
yeah.
Awesome.
Kind of like a scanner that would read negatives.
So that must be like a commercial grade one? It seems kind of high price.
No, that's, well, there's a, that's kind of the price, but there is a cheaper one, but it doesn't have as many functions, features. And so we thought this one has features that instead of having to get an annual subscription to get the additional features, this one, you just pay once, and
So
then
if
we
the
get
city
it.
council declines this, what's your plan?
Applying for a grant, probably, and seeing, this year we applied to the Sam Weller Family Foundation, and they, so maybe they would be support us again, or the Community Foundation.
How much did you get from the Sam Weller last year?
Just about 2 months ago, $15,000.
15? Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
And that was for what? Remind me.
The intent is for updating shelving in the children's collection so that we can have more display bin type shelving as opposed to the books up. Because libraries find that books that are facing forward.
So
get
when
a
you
lot more
apply
use.
for, I'm wearing both of my hats right now. So I'm thinking if there's a grant out there, I almost feel like that should be our first approach is like, do we go to the Sam Weller? Do you say to them, we specifically need this item of equipment? Or do you just say, we need a grant?
No, I would apply for, I would say
Or a
that it's
specific for
first-
this.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I'm just anticipating that may happen, and I just wonder if that might be proactive to say, we are applying for a grant.
Well, I am anticipating that as well. Since we just applied and got that grant, I thought, and we have that need, I'll see if we can go this route, and if not, I'll do that.
And it sounds like that piece of equipment is something that is used regularly and often, so it's not something that you can put off. Is that another
Well,
way that you're looking at it?
yeah, it's become more of a need. I mean, we have put it off, but as we've had, it's not something that gets used every day, but, we've had more, and I don't have hard numbers, but we've had more people, Zach said, come and want to look through, and, then maybe doing genealogy work, looking up, what articles were written or obituaries for their loved ones or whatever, and being able to get high quality. And the quality of what we can get with our current machine is not, it's more than 15 years old, probably more than 20 years old.
This is a random tangent, but is there any talk at the South Dakota Library level of having a machine like this and funneling that old microfiche to them and having them spit out digital copies of microfiche like an interlibrary loan?
That wouldn't be feasible, really, because, a researcher is going to want to come, and they don't know, they have to browse through, issue by issue.
Sure.
And so if there's not an index of what articles are in every issue, then, they're not, I know it's between these dates that I need to look at, and so
Yeah, no,
they
I
take the
understand.
time, yeah.
Are they able to print
Yes,
currently?
they can, well,
If it's working
when it's
correctly?
working,
Okay.
yeah.
You must have someone who's able to do some repairs on the one that you have. Is that you?
Zach North, our adult services librarian, has much greater IT skills than I do. I could, but
Yeah,
he is much better.
it's great to have someone.
Mhm.
I have a few questions. First of all, on the Sam Weller thing, the next application round doesn't open until October, so.
Until October.
Yeah.
But I'm with you, if you've just got a grant, it might be seem to be a bit cheeky to apply for another one in the same year. This may be an ignorance on my part, but we don't have any numbers in here for library programming. That's because,
Well, no, because the library board, it's kind of, I mean, when I started, I was informed that the library board funds programming, and so we have gone with that. And from what I've been told from the city administration, that the city relies on the library board for funding.
so with
That.
that situation, are we restricted in the amount of programming we can do or grow to, or are you happy with no expansion of programming? Other than what we do here?
Well, I mean, we have expanded, we spent more, this year we've spent more, and what you've approved for children's programming, for summer reading program, Jean requested more, and you graciously approved it, and so we're, costs go up, performers charge more, but, we've been able to do more, and she's still, both Jean and Zach, when they plan it, they, look for the ways to get it as cheap as possible. Jean will negotiate or look for performers who, can do maybe the similar thing, but don't cost as much.
It feels like Jean and Zach are probably at capacity in terms of what they can do for programming.
Oh,
So you're not
yeah,
really
yeah.
wanting to launch new programs or do anything
Well,
else?
not a whole lot. We are, with our staffing, we pretty much are offering as much, this year, Jean, a year ago in the fall, or last fall, and then also continued it in the winter months, the makerspace activities, and, when we had the change in staffing, then Zach kind of took over helping plan YA, young adult programming with Rachel Solik helping put it on. So, we've also offered more, young adult programming in a different type, and I think more interesting programming to young adults. So, we're probably at capacity. And just one other thing that we still will be adding, so then this will also take staff time, is, we're still waiting on the 3D printer that we ordered with, that we will pay for with grant funds. And so when that comes, that will be, something else that will take staff time.
I think those are interesting questions, Emma, for when we do the strategic planning.
Mhm.
That would be, to have the stakeholder input to see if the programming is sufficient, if it needs to be expanded, and what that would mean.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I think those are great questions for that process.
So I think this is a really good time for me to ask this question, but I'm looking through those the bar graphs that you've provided for us. So when I look at this, I can see that that traffic is up by month, and like all of these things are higher than they've been. It looks like circulation, when I was going through those, you're like, this is higher, trying to find where that was. And then all of a sudden we come to library programming and we're less. And it doesn't make sense to me that, like, as we look at the library cards issued, the total library traffic by month, those are all higher. And so one of the things that I just kind of caught Jean saying was, did we include, when I went to all the schools and gave them all whatever, but I'm just curious, and then we don't have any money in the budget for library programming, and you say the board does that. Tell me how that works. That was a lot. I had a lot of questions in there, and there was a lot of rambling. If you can figure out what it was I was asking, that'd be great.
And I think you and I should probably sit down and, I can fill you in on a lot of information, some of those, answer some of those questions, but the funding that the library generates, through copies, in the past, fines, although we no longer charge fines, people who buy a membership subscription to the library who don't live in Davidson County, book sales, the used book sale that we have, all of those funds go into the library board of trustees
Okay.
bank account. It's still a City of Mitchell bank account, but we have, oversight and spending authority of that money. And so,
And how much does that end up being?
well, and I'll go back.
Is that about
to-
15?
That's currently at the end of June, our balance was $91,500. So it has been up over $100,000, and then more than a year ago, the board said the board would feel comfortable with spending it down to $75,000 balance. And so there were some projects that the end panels on the shelving in the library, the board paid for that. The board paid for some other, projects, some shelving for the new board game collection that we established. And so, some furniture and buying some furniture. And so, but, I've also been told by, Stephanie that, the board has money. And so and that's one reason why, that software request that I put in again. But, well, that last year, the argument was that software manages printing. We get the revenue from printing, so the board should pay for, that software. That software, no. That software is 1850, yeah.
We don't make 1850 in copies, do we?
Oh, yeah,
Oh, do we?
oh, yeah.
Oh, cool.
Let me go back to the reports. Here's year-to-date. We've made 1850 in the first 6 months on copies.
There we go.
So,
Go hard.
that, and, some of the, like, computers, right now, we don't get any funding from the city for computers, and, it was the same explanation to me, was that, the board has money, the board should help cover some of the expenses. And so that's just some discussions, and, we can have discussions, and, Steve, 2 years ago, when one of our part-time positions was, cut, Steve helped us come up with a strategy, and, that was something we brought to the city council, and we got that put back in, and so I have, the 4 part-time positions. But, so, again, that's, some of, I can give you some background if you,
Yeah, I was just
would
curious.
like.
Yeah, I was looking at the fact that our program participation is down, but we don't have any money in the budget for programs.
Well, and I don't know if Jean counted her May presentations to the school classes the same way, and so I'm going to have to go back and meet with her, because, that was something, I'm going too far ahead, that was something else that, I questioned at the time, but, she was busy getting ready for summer programming, so I didn't
Anyway, I
bother.
didn't mean to derail.
No.
I just thought I'd ask that question.
So,
I still have questions.
okay.
There are a couple of things I thought of that we talked about last year around budget time. One of them was that in comparison to other libraries in the state by size of town, we receive slightly less funding than other libraries. So I wanted to know if this is still a worry for you, if you want us to be champions to say, hey, we need more money, or if you're happy with the budget level that you're asking for.
Currently, I'm happy with the budget level. I mean, I think the reality is right now, I mean, I think we need another year of, you know, kind of maximizing our participation and getting to that maximum programming that we can offer, you know, before we can say, look, we can do more. We can offer more programming if we have more staffing. So, you know.
I realized I had 3 questions.
No,
Here's my
that's-
second one, I apologize. Do you think we need any more investment in doing more bilingual things? Because those, I think, are really interesting and seem important and valuable in the community.
We are currently, you know, every other Saturday offering bilingual story time. And, you know, our focus right now is, you know, on that children's level. But we also have, in terms of, we've been purchasing Spanish language books, translations or written originally in Spanish. The coalition, the new Inclusion Coalition in town, both Ada Morales and I are participating in that group. And so we are working on those efforts as well, and we'll coordinate anything. And so, and if there's something that we see that we could get some other partner group or, you know, other group that's in that organization, you know, we can partner with them on offering programming. And so I think, you know, right now our focus would be offering Spanish language. I don't know that, you know, we're not like Huron that have another large
Yeah.
ethnic and language group, so our efforts have been focused on Spanish.
I think that's great. My final question.
Mhm.
We also talked last year about how some libraries are starting to employ social workers because of the library being used as a sort of safe place or place to be. I'm guessing we're probably not at that point yet, but do you think we need to keep it on our radar for the future?
Well, it's something that I, you know, have thought of, but I was just thinking about this week. I don't know that Mitchell ever would be large. I mean, the city of Mitchell doesn't employ a social worker, let alone having a social worker, you know, been placed in the line. I mean, I you know, began following Des Moines Public Library on Facebook, and, you know, just in this spring or early summer, you know, there was an announcement about, you know, they were hiring their first ever social worker position in the library. So if it takes a city that size to be able to do something like that, you know, Mitchell, I don't think would ever. I would certainly be willing if Mitchell ever said we need to have a city-funded social worker position, that if we could come up with a place in the library and have it, you know, be housed in the library, that would be, I think, a great place. But we'd also need office space because there would be issues of privacy, you know, if they're meeting with clients too. So, I mean, it may be something that, you know, the Davidson County building would be they would have spaces, and, you know, they have some services like that already. But I've thought of it too.
I'm finished with my questions.
Any other questions comments about the budget?
Mine is
The
just
request.
splitting hairs. Your professional services, we were talking about the $250 for the fire alarm maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
Would it make sense to put it with the regular repairs and maintenance, the $1,500, just add that to there? So if it
Well-
goes over or under, you still have the money to spend in that category, or is it bottom line and the rest of it's just
Yeah, I mean, professional services, that is, we're billed quarterly, and we pay that much a year. And repair and maintenance, every year that I've been here, the city's way of budgeting repair and maintenance is to budget a low amount for each department or building. And then if they're hoping that there's not a major thing, but if there is a major thing, that it would come out of the city contingency. And we've dipped into that city contingency every year that I've been here. And, we have, I reported on, our HVAC digital controls. That's going to be thousands of dollars cost. We've gotten the bill, or we've gotten the quotes for that, and but no decision on which way to go. So, repair and maintenance, not really.
Okay, never mind.
For me, it's, I guess, more of a way of tracking it and seeing that, okay, that's for that particular service. Okay, then I'll finalize this and submit it.
Okay, on to library hour.
All right, so we've talked in the past about library hours, and I've told the board that we probably would be at some point, after collecting enough statistics, bringing a proposal to change the library hours, and so we're at that point. And what you have printed off, I noticed, again, I somehow didn't get the summer hours. I had a little spreadsheet that I copied into a table, but I had not had the summer hours shifted to 9 o'clock. And so I fixed that. And so our winter hours currently are 10 to 9, Monday through Thursday, 10 to 6 Friday, and 10 to 6 on Saturdays, and 2 to 5 on Sundays. And so we're proposing Monday through Thursday to shift it 1 hour earlier for opening and closing. Fridays, we would keep the same closing, because I think still before the weekend, remaining open until 6 is appropriate, but so we would be adding, so we'd be adding 5 hours to what we we'd be adding 1 hour to what we're currently open by opening at 9 o'clock on Friday and still being open until 6 o'clock on Friday. And then Saturdays, we'd be shifting until 9 to 5. Sunday's the same. And then summer hours, opening an hour earlier and closing at the same time on Monday nights, Tuesday through Fridays, and then closing 1 hour earlier on Saturdays, because we're open 1 hour earlier. And so we'd be adding 1 hour in winter hours and 5 hours of operation in summer.
Do you have salary for that?
Well, the schedules would shift some, but we have everybody, it's the same number of hours. I mean, 1 hour extra in the winter, that won't be a problem. And in the summer, we'll be able to handle that too, just by doing some different scheduling of work employees. So, I think in terms of, the winter hours and being open until 9, we, had for all of 2022, we had about 1.5 people on average in that last hour. And the individual that we banned from using computers was one of them. He would typically be in using computers. And so since we banned him, he hasn't been here, so that would probably be, less than that even. And the first 6 months, or first 5 months, I'm sorry?
It almost looks like you close at 7.
Yeah, but I think if we have programming in the evening, it would probably start at 7 or 6:30 and go till 8. I just don't think that, and yeah, we do have fewer people in the evenings, but I think that would be something that people wouldn't like, and we'd have a lot of complaints.
Seems to me, based on the numbers, it's very sensible to close an hour earlier.
Yeah.
It's just a-
But also opening an hour earlier, I mean, we have people waiting at the door at 10 o'clock every day almost, and, I think, Jean has told me, she fully would expect that, there are people with young families with children, they may drop off, the oldest children at school at 8:30 or 8:20. If we opened at 9, they could kill some time for 40 minutes, and then they come to the library, whereas, they go home, they may have to go home then, because the library doesn't open until 10. And on Thursdays, she would be able to offer a 9:30 story time, 2 story times on Thursdays, even, in the winter hours, which would give more flexibility to some families too. And spread, not have quite so many people at one story time.
I think that's a great idea. The earlier start time, the one time I was going to bring our granddaughter, I'm like, oh, it opens at 9. And then it's like, no, I better check. Nope, 10. And it was exactly what you said. I mean, like, we're getting up and ready to go and ready to start the day. And then it's like, well, by 10, then you've already started something else, So for young families, 9 o'clock is a way better start time.
Did your staff have any thoughts on opening at 8:30 to accommodate those who drop kids off at school and can be there by 8:30?
No, I think, everybody was in agreement that opening an hour earlier would be a good thing. We didn't talk about, going on to say, we didn't talk about anything earlier than that. And I know, this is a discussion we've had before. The staff work schedule would shift an hour earlier because there still is work that they need to accomplish before we're open. And so, just like teachers need planning time, or, shop owners show up and they do work before they open the doors. We have work that, needs to be done, and it can be done most efficiently before we open the doors and then start helping people. So I think 9 o'clock is early enough. And I guess, also if we compare to other libraries, I know we need to do what's best for serving Mitchell. And, we're not the Brookings Library, but, it also just would seem odd, no other library of, our size are comparable group.
Yeah, no, I was just following your logic to ask if that had been a discussion point,
Yeah,
so that's fine.
but, yeah.
I see on your chart that they're on 9, so.
Yeah. So Watertown's kind of weird at 9:30.
Do we need a motion to approve?
Yeah, this is an action item.
We have a motion from the board.
I move to approve the updated library hours.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Carried.
Sorry. This proposal, if I didn't make it clear, we would make this change beginning at our winter hour after Labor Day. We'll get through the summer with what we are, and then this would take effect this fall for the winter hours.
Makes sense.
Are there any committee reports?
No committees we haven't had one since our task force or our,
Library.
Oh, Any board input?
Welcome to Susan.
Thank you. Thanks.
And citizen input, no citizens? I believe we are ready to adjourn.
6:12.
6:12.
Do you miss having the gavel?